How's it going, guys? So it's Saturday, a little bit before 11, so technically we are early. Um, in chat, can you let me know if you can hear me okay? Last time I started the stream, I just started talking, and it turns out that for whatever reason, the mic decided to not quite work out. So please let me know if you can actually hear me, and then we can get started with the Q&A and whatnot. Hi guys, can you hear me okay? Question mark. It should work. I mean, technically it should have worked last time, but I guess who's keeping score at this point? Great. Audio seems to be working all right. So how's everybody doing this weekend? I wanted to obviously do these live Q&As every Friday, but yesterday it just wasn't going to happen. There's one of my full-time guys, Ben, he had the day off, so I had to pick up a lot of that slack, and then by the time that I was done doing that stuff, and then some other stuff was going on, not drama stuff, but good stuff. There's a Lebanese food festival going on just down the street, and of course I'm going to make time to do that. So yeah, needless to say, the Friday live show didn't exactly happen, so I'm trying to fit it in on Saturday morning here. So hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Nice. So I guess I should first start off quickly saying thank you to the Patreon folks. So let me make sure that I don't forget any names here. So quick thank you to Mark Nadier, Samuel Jolson, he's a new patron, Phil Quisamano, Robert Moore, Steve Pond, Ryan Kern, Dave Davis, and Nate Bowler. So thank you guys. So yeah, Patreon, if you guys don't know, it's a donation site if you just wanted to pitch some money my way for coffee or whatever. Much appreciated. It helps the channel, to be perfectly honest, because YouTube ad revenue, it's not exactly very much. So it takes quite a lot of resources to do any kind of YouTube thing. So anything on the Patreon end really helps a lot. So anyway, thank you guys. All right. I'm sure at some point you'll hear those names again. Close that down. So let's see. I want to make sure that I'm not actually missing anything in chat. And I will scoot this chat thing up just a little bit so we can see the most recent ones. Okay, because I had cut it down a little bit too short. So what's going on new here? Not a lot, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I think that really our goal in the summer is just to make sure a whole bunch of stuff doesn't die out. I've mentioned it many times, but summertime is terrible to have a greenhouse coral system. The sun stays in the sky way too long. The intensity is not quite right. It leads to all kinds of weird algae issues just because of the sheer quantity of light that's in and around the tanks. So even if we were to cut our light cycle down to 4 hours a day, it doesn't matter because there's still 16 hours of sunlight, or however much it is. It's a lot. Now it is starting to get a little darker, which is nice, but still, it's quite a lot. And then there's the heat. The heat issue, we've done wonders now in controlling the heat, but occasionally we run into a solid week where it's close to 90 degrees or above. And in those situations, the tanks get a little bit over 80 degrees. And in years past, I don't know how we kept corals alive, because those tanks must have been well into 85, 86 degrees. It was really, really brutal. But I guess the tough ones managed to survive. The less tough ones kind of didn't. But these days we're able to keep the temperatures between about 75 to 78 degrees, depending on which system, but it's usually not more than a 3-degree spread. Uh, but then there's other issues, like because it's outdoors, there's just stuff that blows into the greenhouse that you don't really deal with in the wintertime. So things like pollen, whatever anybody is spraying in the air, which obviously doesn't exactly happen in the wintertime. So all of those things all combine to make summer my least favorite time of year. But luckily, we have been getting better at it over the course of 10 years or so. And this is, I have to say, like, knock on wood, the best it's ever been. So I can't complain too much. Salt Empire corals. We need to join forces and get corals into Canada. Yeah, I've mentioned it many times, but getting corals to different countries, it's basically another business entirely. Whatever it is that you do as a business, you pretty much, like, none of it translates when it gets to international import export. It's a completely different set of knowledge and skill set and infrastructure and everything associated with it, and none of which we have done before. And the cost is completely different. So I think that I had kind of a general cost idea, but it could be upwards of $200 a box in shipping and fees and whatnot. And so a box doesn't actually have that many corals in it. So unless you are importing like hundreds of pounds of corals, and I mean a lot of corals, it doesn't really make a lot of financial sense to do so. So you're looking at like tens of thousands of dollars in corals and in shipment. It's not really cut out for like any kind of small volume thing, which is kind of what we typically do. Oh yeah, and I have to mow the lawn in the summer too. That's a good point, Carson. Um, so the property that we sit on here, it's a little over 3 acres, and for the longest time, I had to at least I had a riding lawnmower, but it was woefully undersized, and it would take me like 4 hours to do the lawn. So one day I was like, okay, we need to either get a lawn service, or I need to get a bigger lawnmower. And when we priced out lawn services, they wanted about $200 per cut. So in the spring, it takes 2 cuts per week. So that's $400 per week. So per month, that comes to what, $1,200 a month in the spring? That's like 3 months. And the rest of the summer, you can go with probably 1 cut per week. So that's going to add up pretty quickly. So I just decided to bite the bullet and get like a giant John Deere riding lawnmower or zero turn. Let's see. Rico's Reef Tank. What's up, everyone? How's it going? We still need to set up a time, you and me, to shoot your tank. I haven't forgotten about that. Yeah, I'm not sure about a Cub Cadet zero turn. So actually, my neighbor has like one of those tank Cub Cadet zero turns, which I guess is like their professional series. It's pretty good. The reason why I went with John Deere is there is a John Deere dealership, no joke, 5 houses down from me. So if I ever need service or anything like that, I can literally drive the John Deere mower to that dealership and get it serviced and bring it back. Like, so it was a no. Like as far as brands and stuff goes, I'm sure that there's other brands. I know like Exmark is very good, Skag, and all those different lawnmower brands, but they are not literally. I could throw a football probably and hit this place, maybe. No, I couldn't. But it's close. Trust me on that. So there's like the brands that they carry are the brands that I use for the simple convenience. So for like yard maintenance. Why are we talking about this? But for like yard maintenance and stuff, I use a lot of Steel, like that German brand, because that's what they carry, and it's pretty good stuff too. Glenn Willock, if I was closer, I'd mow the lawn for coral. That is 100% on the table for anybody that is local that wants to mow my grass for coral. Yeah, Monnier McNamee, cut the grass for frags. Yeah, I'm game on doing any and all like yard maintenance stuff, landscaping. Any you landscapers out there want some corals? We can work out a deal. You can even use my mower if you don't crash it. So I didn't buy a commercial zero turn mower. I got like the I don't know if you're familiar with like the numbering system that that John Deere uses, but like the 900 series zero turn mowers are like their professional ones that you see at yard crews and stuff like that use. So I got the series just below that, which is like the super high end residential ones, because really that's all I kind of need. But looking back at it, I should have gotten the professional one because there's certain features on the professional ones that just aren't available on the residential ones. So the fastest you can go on these things is how much your seat can tolerate. Like you can go pretty darn fast. You can go almost 10 miles an hour on this lawnmower. The problem is if you hit a bump, it's going to throw you right off. It's going to just break your back and throw you right off the thing. No question in my mind. So the professional series, they actually have like shocks and cushioning on the seat, so you can go a lot faster and thus save time. But those seat options just aren't available on the residential. The other thing that I would want is there's like a switch that can go from mulching to side discharge, and you can just like go back and forth between those two modes. And that's important because I want to get like the bagging attachment thing, which is like I think $3,000 on its own if you have it like auto dump as well. So because like what I want to do in the fall is just like to ride around and like grind up all the leaves and then dump it from my seat. Yeah, first world problems, right? But that's also not quite available in the residential models. Yes, I'm that lazy. I don't want to bag leaves all freaking fall. It's not my idea of a good time. Okay. Let's actually talk about reef tanks here. So, okay, favorite light for nano tanks. For nanos, you're kind of stuck, aren't you? Because although LEDs aren't exactly my favorite kind of light for coral coloration and growth, there's so many benefits when it comes to small aquariums that kind of we put it way ahead of something like a metal halide or a T5 even. So you're going to be in LED land right off the bat just for heat issues alone. And I think that you have a lot of choices as far as like a small LED. I mean, highest end you're talking about like the Ecotechs, Kessels, AIs, things of that sort. So that's probably where I would go. I haven't messed with like one of the newer fixtures lately. A lot of people seem to like the Gen 4 Radeon. I think the XR15 is, I think they're kind of their nano-sized unit. Yeah, if I was going cost no object, I'd probably take a look at them. Like I said, Kessel also does a pretty good job with that. All their actual LEDs are proprietary. They're not like Creeds or anything like that. They develop those in-house. And so there's some benefits there. They do a good job of, I guess, blending light, whereas some of the other fixtures kind of struggle. You get some stratification of those different LEDs, and so you kind of get kind of like this weird disco separated color effect. Some people like that. A lot of people don't. Yeah, it's like all this lawnmower talk, and yeah, I bet like a bunch of you guys are just like looking outside like I need to mow my lawn. Luckily, I did that on a couple days ago. Monnier, will you have more acros on the next live sale? Possibly. There's kind of an issue when it comes to acropora and summertime with us. So even though we're doing a lot better with corals, the coral that is going to not do well, if any coral's not going to do well, unfortunately, is acropora. So it's probably a little bit limited right now, but we probably could find some for you. Yes, you're seeing some recommendations there. Kessel 260, AI Prime HD. So a lot of the difference in these LEDs is going to come down to like user, like hands-on control. It's not going to affect the corals that much, to be perfectly honest. Like a lot of these fixtures use the exact same LEDs, so it's going to be stuff like how easy is it to control, how reliable is the control, and that's a big worry. Like you don't want all of a sudden one of your fixtures to turn on 100% at night while you're asleep and just cook your corals. And that's happened to people before. So you want something with a very robust control system if you're going to use a control system. Maybe even have like some kind of redundancy, so there's something else that will keep them off at night, something along those lines. Or you can hook up a camera, like a Nest or something like that. You just point it right at the tank, and so like at night you can just see, hey, did it turn on? Always consider some like worst case scenarios, and unfortunately with a lot of the controlled lighting, the worst case scenario is that it comes on 100% at night, or especially if you're on vacation, and all of a sudden these lights are just acting crazy. At the greenhouse we had one fixture, and it was doing like this most bizarre thing. It would come on 100% for like 2 seconds and then go off for another 30 seconds, on for 2 seconds, off for 30 seconds, all night. That's not a feature. I mean, that's just some wonky controls, and I would never have noticed that if I just wasn't scrubbing through like security camera footage. I'm like, what is going on there? Like, what is that? What? And sure enough, it's just one of these lights. It just went rogue. Okay, so Phillip Doan, what is the QT method you use for fish in your tanks? Copper. I'm bad when it comes to that. So I'd be a huge hypocrite to say that I even quarantine my fish, because we don't typically get new fish. What do you guys think? Like there's a bunch of different methodologies, and I'm really not a fish expert, but if we had a quarantine system, what I would try to do is keep it in that system, like a fully functioning running system with rock, everything, for about 2 weeks to a month. I mean, what I've noticed is like a lot of the issues that come on fish, if you just kind of have like a stable system and let them kind of like de-stress in that system, they kind of get over it themselves. Like, knock on wood again, ick isn't a thing in our systems. Like, we just have never really had to deal with it because they're so large. There's plenty of places for fish to kind of hide and just kind of get out of attention if they want to. The biggest thing that is a problem in our tanks is that we have other fish like tangs and stuff that can straight up be so ornery that they just bully another fish right out of the water and they jump, something like that. So for us, that is more of a worry, like fish jumping, than like a particular illness or a pest or anything like that. But having said that, any quarantine thing is probably better than what we're currently doing. Salt Empire corals. I don't find Kessels will grow coral. I don't know. Like, I think people talk a lot about growing coral. That is a very, very, very low standard for success. And I think almost every kind of light can grow coral. Is it going to grow coral the best? Maybe, maybe not. But any light you choose should grow coral. I've seen plenty of tanks that that did use Kessels very, very successfully. Like Will's old tank, if you look at a video that I shot of his stuff probably like 2 years ago, he was using Kessels, and he had incredible growth. But again, it's a low bar. I think the things that I would look for is growth rate and coloration. But that's, I think everyone's looking for color, but in my particular situation, if a coral doesn't look good, it will not sell. So it almost doesn't matter if it grows if it doesn't also look great. So, and I guess that's kind of why I went with T5, because yeah, like I said, any light should grow coral. Roller Coaster Studios. Do you run Apex in your greenhouse? Yes. I use, there's 5 of them currently. They're older systems. I think that if we were to upgrade, we would probably still stick with Apex units, but obviously with newer ones. Thaner, are you still spending 2,000 a month on coral? It comes and goes. So, I mean, 2,000 is actually a very conservative budget, and sometimes we don't even spend that much. But what we've kind of gone more towards is finding like the 1 or 2 really special ones that we really want versus buying like tons of stuff. Now, the tons of stuff that we would be buying is stuff that you can't really propagate anyway. So, and we just try to kind of have those on hand, things like Cynorina, Scolemia, things like that. People kind of, when they come to a website, they want to see, the broad spectrum of coral, and yeah, that's a sort of stuff that we would load up on. That kind of stuff doesn't quite excite me as much, just because it's not something that we can propagate over time. But I mean, if it were up to me, I would have most of whatever budget kind of go towards super high-end things that we can then try to farm. Okay. Rico's Reef Tank. When is the next live sale? So August. So let me check the calendar here. It's August 19th. Is going to be the next live sale. So that's 2 weekends from. Actually, this every weekend of this month has something going on. So we're hosting a local fish club next weekend, Saturday. So if any of you guys are from like the Cleveland group, CC, we'll be seeing each other on the 12th. The live show is on the 19th, and then MACNA is on the 26th. And the 26th, that Saturday, is the only day that I'm actually going to be in and around the main display floor. I only got like the 1-day pass because the rest of the time I'm going to be hanging out with my friends. But yeah, looks like the next live show's live sale, because I think that I'm going to still try to do the once per week hangout, shooting for Friday again, but sometimes things get messed up there. Okay, so I'm a little bit behind in chat. Trying to get like, I think best metal halide stuff. Yeah, there's a couple different directions you can go. A lot of people like Radium 20K, as Engineering Aquarium suggested. It's dim, but it's a nice looking light. Dim compared to every other bulb out there. If you just wanted like monster growth, Ushio, a Ushio like 14K, Ushio 10K, those are really good. A lot more yellow looking. How developed should a tank be before adding a clam? So Alden T, you're talking to the worst clam keeper ever. So a while. I think it's a lot of how we do maintenance here that really doesn't fit well with clams. We move stuff around a lot. Clams don't like that. And then we also dip corals that have like some kind of toxin that will also kill clams. And so when we put corals back that have been dipped back into the systems, I think that over time that wears down on clams. So unfortunately, I'm not the best for that. Farming bounces, yeah. We've got a few bounces that have been cut and growing. Ivan Santos Castellado, will you keep bringing guests for upcoming live sales? Yeah, I think I will. In fact, I'm dabbling with the idea of taking my live sales on the road. And the So this is a long rant, and I apologize to chat already because I'm gonna miss some folks, their questions and stuff. But it turns out that like amongst my friends, I'm the only one that does not have fiber. And I've been ranting and raving about this fiber issue, but the reason why I'm only able to upload video at a certain quality is because of my upload connection here. I have like the most expensive package that they will sell me, and it is barely good enough for the quality that you're seeing here. It's pretty good, but my camera and this software, it would be able to give a picture that is literally 4 times better. So if you just take this screen that you're seeing, that the resolution, it's 720p, like this software can broadcast at 1440. So that's 4 720p screens, okay? But the problem is not the camera, the problem is not the software, the problem is my internet service provider. So all of my friends, Will, Lawson and Suzanne, who you might have met, my personal trainer Sean, one of my other business partners, Sigi, everybody has a gig fiber connection. And so I'm kind of like brainstorming some ideas as to how I can do a live show from their location and and have them come on as like a guest, even though I'm the guest technically. And we'll do it from their location using their delicious fiber upload at 1 gigabyte speed to give you guys like ridiculously high video quality. So long story short, we might do something like that. Actually, the only reef buddy around here that I have gone to his place that didn't have fiber currently is Nathan. So I don't know if Nathan, if you're watching, or you'll catch it later, maybe, I don't know. You might want to check in your area, because I think Time Warner in certain areas up in that Cleveland area now has fiber, because Sagi just had his installed like a couple weeks ago, and he's getting like gig service. And I know that that might be something that interests you. So, okay. Again, apologize if I missed any of your questions. Feel free to write it again. My cats are all circling my feet. Rossi's Reef. Dan, what are some options that I can do? I've been testing zero nitrates, low phosphates for months. Is it preventing my SPS from growing their skeleton? Not likely, because a lot of times when you are seeing like zero nitrates and zero phosphates, one thing is like, yeah, the water is too clean, quote unquote. But another thing is that the tank itself has taken up a lot of that stuff, so it's not showing up on a test kit. So even like there are tanks out there with straight up blown out algae problems that are recording untraceable phosphate. And that's not because there's no phosphate, it's just that the algae has bound it all up. So if you're not seeing a lot of like algae problems, you're seeing growth in your corals but registering really low nitrates and phosphates, it's entirely possible that the corals and just the biology of the system itself has taken it up. And so things are actually fine just because it's not in the water enough to show up on a test kit, not necessarily the biggest deal in the world. So again, I would use just some observation eyeball testing, a little bit more than a chemistry set for that particular purpose. Like if you're reading low anyway, that's fine. I mean, if you're reading super high nitrates and phosphates, that'd be more of a concern. But reading super low and still having like a healthy looking aquarium, I think it's fine. Let's see. Tristan, can you tell me, since I started my tank about a year ago, water changes every week, testing all the time, always ran into problems. Now I haven't done a water change in 3 months and tank's doing better than ever. Do whatever's working for you. For us, we tend to do a lot better with more water changes, but even us, we've backed off lately, and it's worked out. I mean, um, I think I would always err on the side of more water changes than too few. I guess that'd be me. But if something is working for you, keep doing it. Mandrake fernflower. What do you have your degree in? Like educational degree? Um, bachelor's in biology. Almost had a bachelor's in computer science, but I ended up working in the industry and then saying hell no with that. Have an MBA and my law degree, JD. All of that, which I'm sure is extremely helpful in coral, growing coral. I saw Rico's Reef. Yeah, you know what? You go ahead and text me, Rico, and then we'll set up a time. I'm actually pretty free this upcoming week, I think, so far. Yeah, pretty good. So if we can do it sometime even this coming week, between the 7th and the 10th, perhaps. So we'll work it out. I would definitely like to see your tank and come by and shoot it. Should I clean the algae off my glass in my refugium? This is, oops, missed it. I would, but then again, we're kind of like anal retentive when it comes to cleanliness, and I like looking in there, so I'm all about it. Which test kit is my favorite? I don't really have a favorite, but the one we typically use a lot is Salifert. What is your summer period in the summer? In the sun period, it's probably like 16 hours. It's really, really long. What are the chances for Xenia to recover from being floppy after shipping? If they're gonna bounce back, they'll do it quickly. The problem is some aquariums are just not that great for them. For whatever reason, they just don't like certain tanks. Too frequent water changes can irritate copepods. So this is the Lost Begotten. That is one thing that's true. However, I think that might be water change technique more than anything else. So our water change technique here is actually really harsh. We pretty much mix it like an hour before turning the pumps back on. Ideally, that water should have been mixed the night before. And I think that when you do that, it's a lot more smooth. Because I think that a lot of times that the people that are saying, I do water changes all the time and my stuff has problems, it's the technique of doing the water changes could be better. It really shouldn't be stressing everything out. But even us, we don't do it. We don't do it as well as we could. Or if you do even like a continuous water change, you should not run into any of those issues. Narcosis corals. Can you give my channel a shout out? Sure. I'm assuming it's called Narcosis corals. See, I have no problem with other YouTubers. How can we die from something we regret? I can think of a million ways that could be a thing. Should have got in OChem. I missed the context of that. I took organic chemistry as a first-term freshman at Michigan, and that was a lot harder than I was ready for. I was like a dumb kid when I was in undergrad, and like at Michigan, I think the class sizes for organic chemistry was about 800 and something, and every single one of those people were like a valedictorian in high school, like every single one. And so it's like, oh, back in high school, I'd be at the top of the class, no problem, doing almost no work. At Michigan, it's like, oh, you are lucky to be in the top 50%. Lucky. And I was definitely very middle of the pack as far as that stuff went. And one of my roommates at the time, the one that actually became a doctor, I don't think he's ever been on a live show. But anyway, he's Dave. He's actually a moderator on Reef Central, has been for a long, long time now. And he did well in those classes. I think he was like in like the top 10 out of like 800 people. Kind of puts you in your place after that. I bought 2 Nacerius sails 2 days ago and they've disappeared. No snorkels, no signs. What happened? It could have died. Nacerius, though, I think that you can just coax them out with just any kind of meaty food, so they should just pop up, right? Do you do anything special to keep and grow the pink Gonioporia you got from Will's ultra low nutrient system? I don't really. We just have like one particular tank that they just do great in. So a lot of the frags that we've gotten from him, we've already fragged already. Already fragged already. I can talk so well. Max Reef Space, lost 7 fish to ick. Hooked up UV. So I think UV does help. A lot of people kind of have shied away from UV for multiple reasons. The only reason I don't use UV is because of the energy consumption and not having enough juice in my circuit breaker, in like my circuit panel to handle the size of UV that we would need for all the different systems. But I like UV, and I think it would help a lot. The other thing that I think would help a lot is like a cleaner shrimp or something like that. So between those two things, it should help. It should actually just take care of it. I'd be surprised if it didn't. Let's see. How would be irrelevant the fact that you regretted would make you... Okay, sorry, you lost me there. Please reword. Phillip Gutierrez, what happened to Miss Saltwater Tank? She started a different channel that I think is more around like general vlogging and her other pets. So she's completely moved away from the reef aquarium stuff. My mom went to Michigan for similar stuff. When did you graduate? Like a million years ago. I graduated in 1998 from Michigan. And then like I did graduate school kind of like in the evening programs for the next, God knows how long, 9 years. Just getting like other stuff done to get like the MBA and JD and all that fun stuff. When you decided to open your own business, how long it took to be successful? I don't even know if we're successful yet. Depends on what your definition of successful is. It was a part-time thing for a really long time. And I think that's kind of the thing that people don't realize often is that these things kind of take time. I mean, unless you're in some tech business that you have like a really short runway of like a year, 2 years, and you need to raise like $10 million and deal with venture capital and all that stuff. For like a home-based lifestyle company, for it to be something where you can then quit your day job, it took us probably 10 years to get to that point of just having it just in the background, keeping it going. And then one day, it's like I just had enough of my desk job, being like a responsible adult. And luckily, Tidal Gardens was just at that point where it's like, you know what, this could pay the bills. It might not replace, my business lawyer salary right away, but it's all right. I'm not gonna go hungry. So yeah, it takes a while. I mean, it could happen a lot faster if you were just at it all the time and hustling. But yeah, for us, it was a while. Could you go in more in depth about UV? I've been really on the fence. I might do a review on that as like a video topic. It's a good one to do because there's a lot of like myths and stuff surrounding UV. My red Goniopora, this is the Lost Begotten, won't extend by more than a ½ inch. Is it from too much current? Monties are growing. I mean, it could be if they're just getting completely hammered by current, but ½ inch isn't terrible. At least they're extending. Have you ever grafted any corals? One was grafted, but it wasn't anything really all that too interesting. It's like the nuclear green Paleothoa and the purple death Paleothoa, how they can kind of grow together and have some like purple and green striping. Okay, so just to be able to live off of it, it depends on how badly you hustle. Like, and I think that's part of the reason why I think Tidal Gardens took so long. It was part time for a really, really, really long time because I was making good money, doing business law stuff. So yeah, it's just in the background. I'll throw $100 here, $100 there. Just keep the website running, and over time it just build up. But if it was a thing where you were going to start it from scratch and quit your job, I'm not going to recommend doing that. But people have, and with varying degrees of success, and some people have been very successful with it. But I would recommend taking it slow. Worked out for me. Max reef space. How long should I run UV daily? 24/7. You should run it all the time if you're going to do it. Have you ever been to Manhattan aquariums? I have not, Psychic. I don't get out much. I haven't been to New York I think the last time I was in New York, I was probably 6 years old. My zoanthus won't open fully. They sort of open halfway. So it sounds like something is bothering them. And it could be a lot of things. It could be something as simple as algae and detritus accumulating on the polyp, and that's kind of keeping it closed. That's like the best case scenario. And so if that's the case, you can direct more flow in the direction of that colony, or you can get like a makeup brush and gently swirl around each polyp. And by doing so, it'll kind of like help it shed off anything that might be growing on it. A much worst case scenario that might also be the problem is that something is eating it, whether it might be a fish. A lot of people keep dwarf angels and they say, but it doesn't bother anything. It's probably eating your zoanthids right now. If you have like a trigger or a larger angel, definitely could be an issue. Some fox faces will eat new colonies of zoas. Or it could just be a zoanthid specific pest like nudibranchs, or there's certain snails that will, and there's spiders. There's a lot of different pests that could be the problem, but I would start with makeup brush and flow. Okay, any plans to stop in Montreal? I'd love to go for lunch. Maybe. I used to live in Montreal a million years ago before I came to the US. I don't know why I've never been back. I would actually like to visit. Hey Than, what food should I bring for the cookout next weekend? I think that the hosts bring barbecue stuff, so I don't know. Typical fare. I'm eating a lot less meat these days, so I'm probably like on the boring end of the spectrum, but yeah, bring what you like. Thoughts on brackish tanks? Never kept one. What causes droopy zoanthids? Low light. So Alden, like I said, the general problems with zoanthids are something is directly bothering it, whether it's algae or if it's something eating them. So I would probably dip them, like I said, give them more flow, brush them off with a makeup brush. I should do a video on like regular household items that people don't generally. I'm gonna write that down. People don't generally use for the hobby that are pretty invaluable, like makeup brushes. Yeah, anytime that I have like some inspiration for a video topic, I have to like quickly write it down before I forget. Because once you've made like over 200 videos, it's bottom of the barrel time. There's not a lot of topics left. You know, anytime I do travel now, I should just like get on social media and be like, hey, I'm headed to blank place. There might be one day or one meal that we can do for like a meetup sort of thing. Because it's getting to the point where like we actually have a decent enough following that I could be meeting people out. So, like I said, the next travel thing, it's going to be for MACNA. So hopefully, if any of you guys are in the New Orleans area for MACNA, or if you just live down there, we can probably set something up for a hangout, possibly. Chen, oh, I can't pronounce the middle name, sorry, Long. Hi Than, I got an acro colony and there's a crab in the inside of the colony. I kept it there for a few days and the acro seems fine. Should I remove them? I don't remove them. So though there's a lot of symbiotic crabs, commensal relationship type stuff. I like them. A video on flow in the reef aquarium would be great. That's, I'm going to write that down. That's going to be a tough topic. Just because it's like, what? Maybe it's a good topic because it's a tough topic. I'll have to think about that. Because, I mean, who out there has a flow meter for water? I'm guessing nobody. I don't even know who makes it. I don't even know, like, I have to ask Dr. Google, but it's just not something that people pay any attention to. Yeah. Reefer Jose, what's up from Miami? So it's very, very funny. Many years ago, I was vacationing there with Lost and Suzanne. So Lost and Suzanne are like some college friends. He was my freshman roommate and his wife, and we vacationed together for like 15 years now. And we went to Miami. He loves to go to Florida, loves to go to Miami. And ever since LeBron went to Miami and left Cleveland, I've had this like bitter taste in my mouth when it came to Miami, and I haven't been back. And the next time that they went down, like he's got like, you know, family and friends and everything like that. They were all asking about me, like they're all on South Beach and people there were asking about me. I'm like, dang, it's like I can't go back. I can't do it. But I don't know. Now that like LeBron came back and he's probably gonna leave again, Miami might be back on the menu. So who knows, Reefer Jose? I might head down to Miami at some point. Even though I'm way too old now for South Beach. Like there's no way that's happening. I've heard you talk about Aquaforest. This is Brad Turner asking, what makes Aquaforest stand out and is this the best one to dose? Well, I had terrible luck with Aquaforest. So, you know what, Brad, if you're really interested in it, like look at the last live show that I did with Will. He's a big Aquaforest guy, and he answered a bunch of questions about it. What makes it stand out? I mean, it's one of these ultra low nutrient system types. He seems to like it a lot. So, yeah, if you wanted to try it, I would probably like try the entire system. I wouldn't try to like mix and match, because we did a little bit of mixing and matching, and it's not that great. Chan, hope they don't do any harm to the. They will not do any harm. Those crabs in the acro are fine. They're not going to do any damage. Let's see. Oh, Apex makes one. I'm guessing that you're talking about the flow meter. Go buy one for the Apex. I might. I don't even know if it's going to work with our Apex. Our Apex is so old, but we'll see. Yeah, if any of you guys are going to be at MACNA, come say hi. I will probably be on social media tweeting out my location and stuff. And also, like, I haven't actually gotten back to this guy's email, but I think that I'm going to try to get together with some other YouTubers, just like after the show floor closes. Um, so I think that might be. I have to look at the schedule, but I think that the floor closes at about 4 p.m. on Saturday, and we might just do like a meet and greet outside, um, like just outside of the convention area, with some of the other YouTubers. So we'll set that up, and I don't know, maybe security will come say you guys have to leave, but I don't know. We'll see. Where are your LA Lakers? Why are your LA Lakers so green? Um, well, they are green, but they're also yellow. Depends on what light they're under, more than anything. I would say in daylight they're green, and their fluorescence is yellow. Do you have any clients that use the Triton method? I do not. It's interesting. I mean, it's one of those things where there's no water changes. It's a completely different methodology that I'm used to. I like the testing. Okay, so this is Noah Bigilny. All my corals are doing well, including my New Xenia, except for my green star polyps. Do they have any special care requirements? Not really. They're considered a beginner coral, but one thing I have noticed when they do poorly is that they're not receiving enough flow. When they receive a lot of flow, they tend to go crazy. Personal trainer Sean, he has a colony that is about the size of a small pumpkin right now in his tank. It's gigantic, and he put it on like this little basket of sorts, like kind of like a strawberry basket, just to kind of like get it off of the sand, and it's almost growing underneath now, but just because it's given even that much more space and air around it for more water flow. The thing is like gigantic. It's like crazy. Is it possible to save a meat coral if its mouth is gone? It's not looking good. Whenever, so it's weird, like acanthophilia and meat corals like that, when they go downhill, they go downhill. Um, when they're fine, when everything is great, they're like the most indestructible corals. But if something happens, like they get some kind of disease or something like that, and they start to really recede, and their skeleton starts poking through their skin and all this crazy stuff, and they kind of like lose their mouth, that's a pretty rough downward spiral. Not too many things come back from that. Samuel J. Hi, Than. Have you had any experience with stray currents from faulty equipment? What precautions have you made? Any advice except using GFCIs? Yes, we have. And typically, so GFCIs, that's an interesting thing. So there's a bunch of different ways to kind of like handle the whole GFCI thing. So I'm not an electrician. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. I am a way better plumber than I am an electrician. But I do know one thing is like sometimes people hook up a GFCI breaker on their box, and if you do that, then you don't want GFCIs later on in the chain. Or you could just do it like device by device, have GFCIs. But you said outside of that, honestly, like this is so dumb, but the way that I always detect it is if I have a cut or something in my hands and I'm working in the tank and I just feel that prickly pain, I start unplugging stuff until I find the thing that's the problem. 9 times out of 10, it's a pump or a heater. That is not good. That's not good advice, but it is what we do. That's how I detect stuff. Sean Kilpatrick, Than, I just want to let you know that I'm getting back into the hobby after being out for about 5 years. Your videos and knowledge have been a huge help. Thank you very much, Sean. Mahalo. Are you from Hawaii? If you are, I'm very, 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 very jealous. Hi, Than. Is 0.12 parts per million of phosphate considered low phosphate? No, I think it's high, but it's not like really high. I think 0.05 is what most people shoot for. We've had 0.8 and things were fine, so it's all relative. But if you're looking at like textbook ocean phosphate levels, it's high. But again, I think it's the eye test that matters. Our tanks were absolutely 100% fine at 0.8. So Sean, I heard that it was not legal to have a tank in Hawaii, but I've heard different things from different people. I've actually read the regulations, and it's very, very, very cloudy on the matter. But yeah, I don't know. You'll have to let me know how that goes. Okay, so I have 0 nitrate but 0.12 phosphate. Can I dose nitrate to balance the ratio? I don't think those two are connected. Like, so calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, those three ions kind of work together. I don't think there's a similar connection with nitrate and phosphate. So by adding more nitrate, I don't think it's going to do anything to phosphate. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. Oh, kitty. What you want? I have a phosphate level of 3 in my one tank right now. That's like there's no water. That's just all phosphate. Man, what you doing, kitty? Yeah, jury is still out on that. There's so many like I've been dealing with this recently, but it's these questionable areas. Like Hawaii is a questionable area. I mean, somebody was like wanted to order coral from Hawaii, and he was like, I have friends that are in the Hawaiian legislature that say that it's fine, but I'm like, yeah, it's fine until it's not. Like if we send the stuff, it gets like wrapped up in customs there, in their Department of Agriculture. I mean, who knows what's going to go on there? There's huge problems that are potential problems. Another guy was from Costa Rica, and he was like begging me to send him stuff, and I'm like, I can't even take that risk. It's this quasi legal thing specific with Costa Rica. So, for instance, the Costa Rican authorities, I don't think, have any problem with sending Recordia to the U.S., but I think that it's not 100% legal on the U.S. end. So a lot of the Recordia that you're seeing from like the Caribbean that are coming into the U.S. now are from Costa Rica, but it's not super clear as it is coming from Florida. Unfortunately, all the Florida ones are dead. So yeah, it's like this weird landscape. And I was talking with sorry, my cat bumped my mic. I was talking with one of my suppliers, and he does a lot of import export. He's like, if there's any gray area, don't mess with it, because if things go poorly, usually the fines and stuff associated with it are like 5 figures. So like whatever risk you're taking, is it worth potentially like a 5-figure fine from basically the federal government? It's like, no, it's usually not. We need a video of your cats. You know, cats are like, so you know how they talk about like quantum particles as like the technology and methods used to measure their existence will just blast them into another reality entirely. That's kind of what like cats are with me. Anytime I point a camera at a cat doing anything interesting, just the sheer act of pointing the camera at them makes them stop doing anything interesting. So it's like this, I don't know. I wanted to do cat video type stuff, but just me being around the cats affects the cats. And then they just sit and stare at me awkwardly. Is he Art Vandelay? No. I don't know who that is. They sell fish in Hawaii, no corals or no live rock. That makes sense. Just shipped to Ontario. Not happening. Can you ship to Japan? Japan is 100% illegal. That I am sure of. Yes, like super duper illegal. Brian Reinhardt, I think the only hope left for corals lies with hobbyists and folks like yourself, man. I appreciate it, and that also saddens me to consider that it might be possible that I will personally own one of the largest reefs in America one day. That would suck so bad. If anything, they should be encouraging the trade. Yes and no. I think that the trade, it's gotten a lot better in the last 20 years. It could be, I think in general, we could get a lot better still. There's plenty of room for improvement. There's been a lot of, I guess like 2015, 2016, and into 2017 now. There's so many, I mean, again, not a fish guy, but there's so much progress that's been made in the way of captive bred things like tangs and angels and whatnot. That is very encouraging. Obviously, there's a lot more. There's a very distinct market shift going towards frags and propagation. That is also very good to see. I mean, it's obviously not great for me because it's like, well, more competitors, but it's a good thing I think for the hobby as a whole to have a lot more. Because that's a buyer thing as much as it is a business production thing. I think a long time ago, the idea of buying a small frag of anything versus buying a colony, people would always want to buy the colony. But I think that as hobbyists get a little bit more savvy, they realize that an aquacultured frag has a lot better survivability rates than a recently imported colony. So you would save money by buying the colony just for its sheer size. But if it dies, you cannot save money on something like that. It's just a dead coral. So I think that the market has kind of changed in that regard, and I think that the market has also changed in looking for higher end stuff to some degree, I would say. And the chances of an importer bringing in a truly high-end piece, it's pretty uncommon. So, yeah, I think I'm thinking I like all the trends that I'm seeing, except for the stuff that's actually happening, in nature, not necessarily what's happening in the industry. The industry, I think, is doing better than it's ever done. You missed my question about zoopox. I'm pretty sure I did. If you have zoopox, Furane 2 is pretty good for it. If you want to dip it, you can also just pop them like zits, and also more flow. Zoopox is really, really easy to handle. Like, it's one of those things that it is an issue with zoas. Of the top 10 things that could be wrong with your zoas, zoopox does not make my list. Can acropora touch each other? Mine are growing pretty close. No, they can't. Make sure they don't touch each other. As for Beej 1254, can you keep multiple cleaner shrimp in the same tank long term? I think you can. I don't, but I know plenty of people that do. Speaking of captive bred fish, where do you recommend we buy those fish? I've only ever seen captive bred clowns. So I haven't purchased fish in a long time from a retailer, but you might look at, I would start with like Live Aquaria. I mean, they've got a very, very good warranty period, and they do a good job of like packing and shipping and whatnot. So take a look at them first. There's a new guy. He's not a new guy. He's been in the industry forever, but his name's Austin, and I think he's working with cherry corals, or I think he might have his own company, and they're doing fish, or he's doing fish for cherry coral, or something like that. But he's really into fish, and I think that he might have these connections to the folks that are doing a lot of the captive breeding. Higher price point, but I've known the guy for a long time, and he's coming from a good place with a good amount of experience on the matter. I would look at him too. You're not going to save any money doing that, but you might end up with a better animal. Than, how many employees do you have? Not counting your undocumented. I have one full-time, one part-time, or two part-time. Two part-time, one full-time. Not including myself or my parents. Do people's acropora actually glow under blue light? Yes, some of them do. Not all of them, but some of them definitely fluoresce. For example, if you've ever seen a very common one, at least it was common back in the day, it's called a green slimer. Yeah, that's about as green as anything has ever glowed in a reef tank. It's very, very green. There's other ones that are going to be kind of fluorescent. A lot of like the yellowish ones will fluoresce. Maybe like a salmon colored acropora millipora. That'll also fluoresce nicely. Yeah, but some corals definitely look better just in daylight because their coloration is kind of flat in that sense. But the fluorescence is almost like a completely separate category, I guess. And so, for example, there's like certain zoas that, like the LA Laker, looks green under daylight, fluoresces a different color. Or there's some Favias that they look one way, but their fluorescence is like red and yellow. And that's what makes them interesting. So if you were to look at it under daylight, it's like, who cares? What's another one? What used to be called what were they called? Symphilia, but it's no longer Symphilia. It's Australophilia, I think it's called now. If you were to see that in regular light, regular 10K light, it looks like stupid. It's just some gray looking coral. If you look at it under full actinic, it's a rainbow. So yeah, you kind of have to see it under in two different lighting regimes to kind of know. What's the most expensive coral you've ever owned? Probably bounce mushroom right now. That's kind of, like, mushrooms in general are kind of the in thing, and so probably bounce mushrooms. The one I had like the worldwide coral, like the OG one from Nathan, and it died. But I'm getting another one. He cut me another one. It's still sitting in his tank, but I'll get it soon. I'm in no hurry. Like I said, we're in summertime. It's probably better off just growing in his tank right now than it is growing or not growing in mine. I'm going to check one thing here real quick. I have not looked at the statistics here. Huh. I've only been streaming for 41 minutes. That's crazy. It feels like it's been so much longer. Okay. All right. Okay. I put Furin into the reef tank to treat zoopox. Not supposed to do that. Yeah, bubble tip anemone and SPS seem to be bleaching or getting lighter. Okay. Furin 2 is a dip. So you have to make it in a separate solution, and then you bring your zoas and you dip it in that. You don't. It's not a whole tank treatment. Yeah. So any time that you are talking about chemicals, be real clear about how you're supposed to use that. So like when people suggest like dipping zoanthids, like using like iodine. You don't treat your tank with iodine. Like iodine is toxic. So the concentrations of iodine that you would need to do to disinfect corals, it's super high. It's like 40 drops per gallon or something like that. That will kill your tank. You need to do it in a separate dip tank for about like 10 minutes, like max. Same thing goes for things like Coral RX. Same thing goes for like Furon 2. You don't want to be dosing it directly into a tank and just leaving it there. Yeah, I think you're looking at some carbon and water changes. What are your thoughts on using only DI resin for making filtered water compared to RO or RODI? I think you can do it. It depends on what your incoming water is in terms of TDS, because the reason why people run RO first and then DI is that the RO will do a more efficient job of cleaning the water before it gets to the DI stage. If you're high in TDS, it's just going to blow through your DI faster. And once it's saturated, then you're basically getting higher than average TDS. So you can do it, but you have to be, I guess, more conscious of when your DI resin expires. If you already have low TDS, then just like a single DI stage is fine. Van, you'll never have to pay for a meal again. I hope so. Buying food is like the least exciting thing on my list. And I'm cheap too, especially if since I don't really drink a lot and I don't eat a lot of meat, so I'm eating like cheap salads and stuff. Unless I go on like a big vacation. At that point, things can get kind of out of hand. Like when I go to Japan later this year, I'll be eating a lot of meat, I'm guessing. All right, Beach, have a good one. Thanks for coming. So yeah, it's almost time for me to go because it's noon here, and like I said, there's this Middle Eastern, or not Middle Eastern, well, I guess it's Middle Eastern. It's a I would just call it Middle Eastern, but it's specifically a Lebanese food fair that went on yesterday and today, and it's like ridiculously like good, homemade, like Lebanese cuisine, and yeah, I take full advantage of it whenever I can. So yeah, when lunchtime rolls around, I'm gonna have to roll on out of here and get myself some good food. Hi Than, so this is Gary Witham. I saw your vid on Pavona the other day. Went to the LFS and they had a neat little plating Pavona for 10 euros. There you go. I have a mental image of a hungover Than. No, not likely. So, like, hangovers when you're 20, 21, it's one thing. Hangovers when you're 40 are so bad that whatever fun you think you had the night before will never equal the amount of misery you're going to feel the next day at this age. So it's like it'll never happen. Like I will never drink so much to get a hangover. It's never going to be worth it. There's no party awesome enough for me to feel that sick for that long afterwards. Like it takes almost like 2 full days to get over a bad hangover now. No, absolutely not. Out of the question. Okay, Miguel. Okay, so this is Miguel Pires. Hopefully I said that right. Dan, I need help, please. What would make SPS coral not show polyps, but have very good color and signs of growth. Water tested by aquaphors, everything is okay. Not showing polyps makes me wonder if something is nibbling on them. I mean, do you have any fish that might be doing that? Oftentimes, yeah, like retracted polyps does come down to that a lot. It could be something chemical, not really sure. Can you place acans close together? I see people doing this, but what keeps them from LPS warfare? You can keep, so if you're thinking of like an acan lord or what's now a micromusa lord, you can keep those guys together and touching. That's not a problem. But if you have it touch another type of acan, so like an acan bowerbanki, acan echinata, they will fight to the death. So it kind of depends on which ones you're talking about. I would like to keep them separate as much as possible, but if you're talking about two lords, it's fine. Yeah, Charlie, I'm 37 now and hangovers suck. I guess they've always sucked, but now to me, it's out of the question. Out of the question. I went a couple weeks ago to a beer fest, like a summer beer fest up in Michigan, and I poured out more beer than I drank because it's 88 degrees outside. It's really easy to get dehydrated, and I'm like, unless I'm in love with this beer that I'm drinking, I'm not even gonna finish it. And so I took a lot of sips of a lot of beer and I made it out of there without any damage. That's all I wanted out of that experience. Like, do not get hungover. iPhone macro lens worth it? Probably not. Maybe. I guess I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to camera stuff, and the problem you're going to run into with iPhones and cameras in general is that their sensors aren't really that good. So it's not necessarily like an optics issue. Yeah, sure, you can get up closer, but it's still going to be like wonky colors. It's still going to be wonky dynamic range, meaning that like if it's too bright, you're going to get like really, really, really bright areas. If it's too dark, obviously it's going to be too dark and you're going to lose a lot of detail there. So, I mean, if that's all you're working with and your problem is you're not getting close enough, it might help. But I think that the bigger issues with shooting with your phone have to do with the sensor. Dan, what's your favorite chocolate? I like Ferrero Rochers. Angel Yellow Lemon, can that be the problem? Yeah, that's him. That is your problem right there. Spencer Overbeck, have you heard of the Triton method? If so, what's your opinion? I have. The first time I saw it was actually at MACNA. I talked to the guy briefly. This was a few years ago in Colorado. I've never used it. I don't know anybody who has used it. So unfortunately, I can't be too much of a help there. Billy Pipes. Hey, Than. Why is Billy Pipes your favorite YouTuber? I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen one of your videos. Kidding, not kidding, but I have heard of your name before. I've seen you in chat before, so hopefully your channel's going very well. And bro, nothing personal. I don't watch a lot of Reef Aquarium stuff. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look up your channel right now. I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you some attention here. Billy Pipes on YouTube. So for everybody else in chat, you can check out his channel along with me. Oops, I said Billy Pipe. I'm guessing it's not quite this. Good, 1,200 subscribers, pretty good. Take a quick peek. Good, and a lot of frequent updates, so good job. See, there you go. Constantly supportive of other YouTubers. So there you go. And Billy getting 5 minutes of fame. Yeah. Everybody gets a little bit of run on this show, I guess. Sorry, I got like a million windows open here. See, Billy, Rob Sewell, you got a new subscriber right there. By the way, speaking of subscribers, YouTube is trying really hard to make subscribers irrelevant. Like, if so, Billy and what other YouTubers are on currently? If you guys look at your acquisition in your analytics, you will see, and many of you probably already know this, but I'm kind of educating the vast majority out there that do not have aquarium-related YouTube channels. If you look at your analytics and you see how you're acquiring views, it is very clear that all of your views are coming from two sources. One, that is coming from YouTube recommended videos. Two, is coming from YouTube search. So I would say that between 70 to 90% of all your views are coming from YouTube's specific algorithm. And it's kind of minimizing your subscriber base. Like when I put out a video, I have like 30-something thousand subscribers. It almost doesn't matter because they've become like Facebook in that they don't even broadcast the new video I put out to all of my subscribers. It's like they broadcast it to a certain number, and if it's a big hit with them, they'll put it out to a few more. So it's never all of my subscribers. So the only way that a subscriber is guaranteed to get any notification that I even made a new video is for them to hit the bell. And that's why you're seeing a lot of YouTube channels now saying, hit the bell, because hitting the bell is the new subscribe. Like you subscribing to the channel, that's great. And it shows up as a statistic. Oh, yay, I got 30-something thousand subscribers. But it's not like a real subscription anymore because they're not delivering you everything that you subscribe to. So it's almost like you have to subscribe twice now. You need to do the original subscription and then you need to do the bell. Because otherwise, YouTube is perfectly happy directing everything through their algorithm. And that algorithm then dictates what it values, and it kind of, again, it dictates what it thinks you should see. And unfortunately, that algorithm is heading more towards like clickbait nonsense and stuff being uploaded like daily. And so a lot of YouTubers are like, I don't necessarily want to make clickbait garbage every day. That's asking an awful lot. But if I were to put out a garbage video every single day, my channel would double in size. And it's not because I made better videos. It's not because I've somehow, I guess done what I was looking to do. I just kind of made trash for YouTube's marketing purposes, and they're happy with that. So anyway, that's kind of like my rant as far as like YouTube goes. And actually somebody had emailed me and he wanted to do like a YouTube channel in the saltwater aquarium space. And he's like, how do I promote my channel? Like, it doesn't matter how you promote your channel. There's only two things that you need to worry about. And both of them are actually just the same one thing. It's YouTube's algorithm. And I have the answer, but you're not going to like it. It's like you make a video every day, forever. It's bad. So anyway, enough about YouTube. Hey, Than, another question. I'm setting up a small frag tank that's plumbed into my display tank. What would be good fish for pest algae control? So those are two different things, pest control and algae control. 10 to 20 gallons, it's pretty darn small. So as far as algae control goes, you're probably not going to be doing much in the way of a fish because fox faces and stuff like that need larger tanks. So for algae control, you're pretty much going to be looking at snails. Astrea snails, Trochus snails. If you want somebody to do like a really, really good job, but also be a bulldozer, it's going to be something like a big Mexican turbo. As far as pest control, I'm a big fan of Melanaris wrasses. Dan, I really like your dressing style. What are your favorite stores to shop? First world problems. Almost all of my clothes now are custom made. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. Like if you okay, real quick style tip for the fellas out there. If you go shop at a store, that whatever you buy there is literally guaranteed to not fit you. It is made to fit the largest human being that can fit into the arm length. So, like for a shirt, for example. So, that shirt that is the correct length for your arms will also fit somebody 100 pounds heavier than you. It'll never fit you. So you have to kind of get it cut down to fit you. And there's a lot of benefits to do that. Or you can just get something made. And I kind of went that way. Random fashion. Oh, that's how Jake Paul became popular. Yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, like pretty much all like the big famous. So you can do one of two things when it comes to like being big on YouTube. You can either crank it out like just a ton of stuff and really risk burning out, or you are a multinational conglomerate, media conglomerate, and so that's why you're seeing a lot of like, just like NBC. It's because they're used to like a 24-hour news cycle, and they can just crank out content because they have like a team of like 150 people. I'm blushing. I doubt that. Right? I literally broke more news than any other channel, and everything is proving me right now. And everyone is proving me right now. But I get 3K subs. Yeah, trust me, it's got nothing to do with your quality. All you need, and this goes back to like the people with the phones, okay? I like camera equipment. I like good sound equipment. I like all of these things. And it does not actually matter. What matters is how frequently you can post your garbage and make a catchy thumbnail and a catchy title. Like, start every video with, "Oh my God, you'll never believe," and and then your actual thing, and just make it as ridiculous as possible. Like, "Oh my God, you'll never believe my mom changed my Wi-Fi password after I did this," and put like some, like. So, trust me, YouTube is easy. If you're willing to do it, YouTube is easy. Ever thought about doing a different YouTube channel? I mean, I thought about it. I could talk about technology, and my personal trainer, like he's doing like a YouTube thing that I'm helping him with, stuff like that. Yeah, Dan, check out XSplit. You can load image slideshows or video loops while you stream. It's easy. So I'm using Wirecast Pro right now, and I'm able to do a lot of stuff. So what would I be? So help me out, Lost Begotten. What would I be doing on XSplit that I wouldn't be that I'm not currently doing? Just showing like video loops. I mean, I could put like a video in like right now. Oh my God, Dan, help me with a problem. Yeah, dude, YouTube is, I guess like big YouTube is like infuriatingly stupid to me. Like a big reason why like I talk about, you know, the reason why I don't watch. So when people ask me like, you know, did you see so and so's videos? Like it's really not anything to do with their video at all. I watch so few videos. Like they have to be next level informative for me to want to click on something. And unfortunately, a lot of YouTube has transitioned away from being like high level informative to that daily clickbait trash. And it's not even like Grief Aquarium related, it's everything else related. And so that's like, it makes YouTube really hard for me to watch. Because there was a time where I would have said, you can learn a PhD level understanding of any topic on YouTube. And nowadays it's like, not so much. Not so much. And again, it's because YouTube is kind of dictating the direction that it kind of wants to go. And it wants to replace television. And when was the last time you got a PhD level learning on television? You didn't, right? So unfortunately, it's harder and harder to find fantastic, quality, informative content. And so I tend to watch like channels. I watch a lot of movie channels, and even then, it's hard to find non-sensationalist, like really in-depth analysis on like plot and story and stuff like that. And those channels are like super low subscription volume. Like my favorite channel, as far as like movies go, it's called Deep Focus Lens. Gorgeous girl. It has like super like great understanding of movie making and stuff, and her knowledge goes way back into like the 30s and stuff like that as far as movies goes. She has like less than 10,000 subs because she doesn't make clickbait nonsense. Jerome, have you ever been diving in Sri Lanka? I have not. I bet it's awesome. Oh god, don't even get me started. Okay, 8-Bit Aquarium, do not even get me started on prank videos. So prank videos are the only reason I would watch a prank video is I'm secretly hoping that this ends in a ridiculously violent beatdown of the pranker. That's the only reason why I would ever even consider watching. Those infuriate me, and it's to the point where, going back to that whole thing about, you know, YouTube wanting you to do stuff daily, it's gotten to the point where they're faking their own pranks because they can't do real pranks fast enough. They have to come up with fake pranks. Like, how lame is that? I get that money. Than, have you had problems with copyright infringement on my channel? No, not really. There's one time where they demonetized one of my videos because it said like, your video matched with this other copyrighted content, okay? The copyrighted content that my video, this is years ago, this wasn't a recent thing, years ago. The thing that my video matched with was this spoken word German interview. It's all in German. My video had no words and classical music, like a royalty-free kind of classical piano music, and they matched it with this German talk show thing with no picture. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And within 24 hours, that got remedied. But so no, when it comes to copyright infringement, as far as like, you know, me getting flagged for anything, it's like no, because I shoot my own stuff. All of the music I either pay for a license or it's royalty free. So no. Film theory is great. I enjoy it a lot. Than, have you ever named corals? We have, but it's usually because there isn't a name out there already. I would love for every coral that we have in our systems to already have a name that is well known in the market. That way we can use it and then people can find it in search. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, and then sometimes you have to come up with a name. And oftentimes that name is going to be super boring if we're coming up with it. It's going to be like green something or the other. It's gonna be super boring. DIY King Joey's main arowana fish just died on his channel. He cried and buried it. That sucks. Yeah, I hate losing fish. I don't think I've ever cried for a fish, though. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sociopath. I don't think I've cried for anybody dying. Anyway. How many people have a Moana song in their heads right now? I totally missed the context of that. I haven't even seen Moana. I think that like we played it at the gym. Maybe I saw like the first half of it. It seemed pretty cool. I don't understand why he left it float upside down so long. It didn't see it. Talk to me about hermit crabs and if they are necessary. So Peter Ortel, hermit crabs are not necessary. I can tell you for a fact, because we have one in this entire greenhouse of mine. One in 5,000 gallons, and I didn't pay for it. It somehow showed up. I think it was just in a snail shell when I ordered snails or something. One hermit crab. No, they're not necessary. The reason why I'm kind of like down on hermits is that they are omnivorous. And although they do a good job eating algae and stirring substrate to some degree and things like that, they always run the risk of picking on something that they shouldn't pick on. They might kill a snail here and there. It's like a risk-reward thing. Whatever they do, something else can do without that downside to it. So I kind of stay away from hermits altogether. Ever felt sick to your stomach when losing an expensive coral? So Tattoo Craze Ink Studio, I didn't feel great when I lost a bounce mushroom, I can tell you that. Now, sick to my stomach? Unfortunately, I've lost so many corals over the years. I've kind of gotten like inoculated to the disappointment, but that doesn't mean that it's not disappointing. Yeah, I've filled coral graveyards in my day. Yeah, hermits are jerks. Hey Than, why aren't you showing the close-up video loop of your corals with prices? Because this is not a live sale. We only do those once a month. So this is kind of like the weekly Q&A. The next actual sale is going to be actually coming up pretty quickly here, like 2 weeks. Got a Pavona and a Pocillopora from TG. How long did it take for them to open up? It's been 2 days in the system. Honestly, it should have opened up by now. I mean, there's could be reasons why it didn't, but no, generally they should be open by now. I mean, like if you're really worried, you can send me an email, send me some photos. Do you have any tips for growing zoanthids very fast? So when it comes to zoas, they do naturally grow quickly, but sometimes they can take like a while for them to start growing. And I think that's kind of the linchpin there, because unless they get to that starting growing part, they don't do anything. So if I was to do anything, I would make sure that they're clean, make sure they're getting plenty of flow, and just in case, I always like to throw in a water change. But sometimes it takes like months for them to start growing because there's like something else going on in the water that just kind of prevents them from making that step. But once they make that step, they're very, very fast. Than, what are you using to display stream chat? So The program that I'm using is called Wirecast Pro. I probably don't need the Pro version. I got it for some other reason, but it's not free. And so Wirecast, the kind of the cool thing about it is you're able to capture sources. And so you're seeing me through a capture card going to my cinema camera. The thing that's showing chat is I'm able just to like grab a window and then like trim it down and just kind of move it into place. Okay. Okay, so Miguel, what should I have in consideration to get a blue Montipora plate? Red, green, purple are all growing nice. I love hermits. They kill my snails. They live in the sump now. What consideration to get? What should I have in consideration to get a blue Montipora plate? I'm not sure I quite understand the question. I personally haven't even seen a blue Montipora plate. There are blue chalices that look like Montipora. So that's a thing. Man, so Reef Bear Live Aquatics. Okay, yeah. Okay, you're the one who asked the Zoa question. I was going to elaborate more on the broadcasting software end. Dan, thanks for advocating frequent water changes. You saved my reef hobby, and now I'm getting great growth. Great. I just installed an Aquamax ozone generator connected to my protein skimmer of Neptune Apex to monitor ORP. So I've never used ozone. A big reason for that is you need to have like a dryer, or just basically dry air in general. And unfortunately in my greenhouse it's like 100% humidity. So I'd be really fighting against the current to try to use ozone in my particular application. Having said that, in the future I would like to use ozone. So if I was to have like a warehouse or something like that, I'd probably set up at least one system that was like heavy into ozone. And what's the min-max you'd recommend for the ORP? That's going to be a total go by the recommended guidelines, because you can there is such a thing as overdoing ozone. Raynard Duncan, hey Than, looking from Trinidad. Can you do some more propagation videos? It's been a really long time since I've done propagation videos. Partly because they all kind of look the same, and the other part is my dad is the one that's kind of like taken on the whole propagation thing. So my dad's like a professor, and he's like slowly transitioning towards retirement, and what he likes to spend all of his time doing is coming to the greenhouse and cutting coral. So I just kind of let him do it. All right, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Hey, what's the email to send you pics of the coral? Just go than@tidalgardens.com. Jeffy CE? Jeffy's. Hi Than, have you tried Zeovit? The BRS tried it and got great results. No, I have not personally. Will has. So the guy that I had on the live show, he did. He's now on to Aquaforest, but he likes the of it. It wouldn't be a TG live show without a fan potty break. I mean, it's like I drank 30 ounces of this plus a coffee. Actually, I should fill this back up. Oh, okay. About the Blue Monty, should I dose anything to help color? I don't know. So, supposedly, potassium helps blue coloration in the coral. It could be an old wives' tale. Might be not true at all, but that's what people have said. Dan, you need a chair with a cushion on the back since you do hour-long Q&As. Yeah, strangely, this entire time my back hasn't even touched the back of this chair. So, back when I had an office job, and I went out and got myself one of those ergonomic Herman Miller chairs, because I was like, okay, I'm going to be stuck behind this desk, whether I like it or not, for 8 hours a day, and I need to be comfortable. So I bought this like really nice ergonomic chair, and so now that I don't really have an office job, what that chair does is it sits upstairs, and my cats use it as a scratching post. Joseph Chi, any plans of visiting Taiwan? Many fans here. You know, I've never been to Taiwan. It might be something in the future. I would like to visit Hong Kong as well. Have not been there either. There's a lot of places I want to go see. Engineering aquariums. If I'm doing BRS 2-part and MAG as well as Red Sea trace elements with ICB testing, would you still do water changes? I would always do water changes, personally. What type of salt mix are you using in all of your systems? Use different types in different tanks? No, we just use Omega C right now. And it has everything to do with how convenient it is for me to get it. Roscoe's Reef with Scott. Hey, what's up? Hello, Than. Hey, Roscoe's Reef with Scott. I'm actually thinking about shipping you some beer for the next live sale. Goodness, you don't need to do that. What is the coolest invert? I like the pistol shrimp that goes along with Yasha Asagobi. Those are pretty cool. Check out the Alchemax Tech 03 ozone generator, no need for an air dryer. I will have to check that out. Ricky Cassidy. Hey fan, big fan. How do I know the right amount to feed a tank? 9 smallish fish, several shrimp, and multiple snails and hermits in a 75. Is 1 cube frozen per day enough? It could be. You can, I mean, I always just tell by how the fish and everything look. The fish should be fat. But then again, you don't want to pollute the tank with just too much entirely. So as long as like the food ends up in the animal, I don't think that is overfeeding, even if you fed more. I think the problem with overfeeding is when you have like, you know, whole pieces of krill rotting on the bottom of your tank. Then, any changes in the greenhouse you add or you removed? No, nothing big like that. We kind of toned down a lot of the DIY type projects in the summertime. But there's gonna be there's always gonna be some projects coming. I have no doubt. Hey Than, do you have a personal tank? Can we see it? No personal tank. It's just one of those things. Like I always say, it's just not missing from my life. I've got plenty of tanks. I don't need another. Like the biggest thing in my house is I want to keep it quiet as best as I can. And this place right now is kind of a mess. And having a tank in here would just be more of a mess. No thanks. What is the most frequently asked question that you feel that common sense should answer? Sometimes, the most common sense one. What's one that like people aren't going to get immediately offended by? They'll ask me if I have a particular coral, and I'm like, just look on the website, and sure enough, the coral's there. I'm like, yeah, it's basically questions that it's not so much common sense, because like common sense implies like, oh, you need to have this like baseline knowledge that everybody should have. But even that, like knowledge these days, I think to a large degree is overrated. When you have in the palm of your hand something that can like look up any fact you want. It's like if you could have taken this and typed it into Google instead of in an email to me, you should have done that. Than, is the moonshine live sale still in the works? What did we say about the moonshine live sale? I don't know. I was hoping that, if I got enough patrons on Patreon, that we would do an absinthe live sale. Even though I guess like the psychotropic effects of the wormwood varieties aren't really a thing. I'm still curious about it. I've never had absinthe. I've had moonshine before though. It's actually pretty good. Favorite coral? I don't have one. Will you consider doing videos on macroalgae and saltwater planted aquariums? That's interesting. I have considered it. I just haven't shot it. So let me go ahead and put that on my video brainstorm here. Planted tank. It could be interesting. Have you heard of KHG? The owner also likes your channel a lot, but most of the time I need to translate for him. I have not heard of it. Smallest tank for a dwarf moray? Not sure. I've never owned a moray eel, believe it or not. Never once. In like 30 years of this hobby, never owned one. Of any kind. So if anybody can help aquarium activists out there. I mean, personally, whenever it comes to tank size, it's like, how much space do you have? Fill it. Can I keep an anemone in a 13 to 29 gallon nano cube? Depends on the type of anemone, and generally not a great choice. Than, stupid question. Does the moon affect our tanks? It does, actually. But a lot of times it does and it doesn't. Because a lot of times your tank can't see the moon, the light intensity change doesn't affect it. The gravity might, but it's related to spawning events and things like that. I've started dosing and trying to get stable, but most salt seems over the levels I'm aiming for. Will it be a problem with 10% weekly water change? It might. That's kind of a problem when you're talking about having chemistry levels in the salt itself that's high. Because like, what do? Like, you can't reduce it anyway. Unfortunately, like, if it's actually high in the mix itself, you might want to consider a different mix, which is pretty drastic. John Gale, appreciate your knowledge of corals and learn a lot from you. Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for attending. Your tanks are still bare bottom where you add sand to them? A little bit of both. In a video you said that you're looking to add some sand to balance out calcium. Yeah, kinda. Like we were doing it because for lower maintenance, not necessarily balancing out chemistry. Mixed success, I guess. If you're addicted to coral, you want to have bigger and bigger tanks to fit in more coral. That is true. Like, I could use a bigger system myself. It never ends. Let's see. $90 gallons as small as I had a moray in. Yeah. Certain morays can get pretty big. I don't know how big a dwarf moray gets. Even a dwarf moray, I'm sure, gets pretty large. Noah, how do you get an anemone to stick to the rock? Mine never stick to the rock and die, except for my pest flower anemone. Not quite sure there. Like, you really can't make them do anything. So, like, anemones are kind of like cats. It's like you can kind of hope that they do what you want them to do, but they're just going to do their own thing. John Rodstrom. Hey, Dan. Hey, John. Hold on one second. I need to check a couple of things real quick. Oops. Hey, Dan. Any advice on general coral when all parameters are good, as well as lighting and flow, but still no coral growth? If everything is good with water parameters, and lighting and flow, and still not good coral, something is bothering the corals. So I would be looking very suspiciously at all the fish, all the inverts, seeing if there's anything else that might be going on with the water. I mean, had anything got dropped into the tank? He's taking a look at that. What's your take on the new Ice Cap 3K gyre? I'm assuming you're talking about like the gyre pumps. I haven't tried the Ice Cap one. I don't know how the Ice Cap one is different from the Max Spec one. But we use the Max Spec ones here. We have 2 of them, and so far I like them a lot. Okay. Yeah, going back to the whole anemone thing, you can just try to put them in a low flow area, but when an anemone is just kind of like had it with life, they just kind of won't attach to anything, or they'll just kind of like march behind the rock someplace, and it's never that great of a sign. So Kyle Poma is asking, I've been considering getting rid of my sand and going bare bottom, but I have 2 wrasses that bury themselves in the sand. Will they do okay in a bare bottom tank? Probably not great. I've done that too. Kept wrasses with a non-bare bottom. I think they do better when they have that bare bottom to sleep in. So what you might want to consider is just having like a Tupperware container with a little sand bed all to itself. I don't know if that works with your tank design, but it'll be helpful for the fish. Reef dudes. Hey, Than, I'm picking up some acro millie colonies from a lady that's fairly close to the top of the tank under a bunch of T5 bulbs. Would you worry about acclimation to my LED? Yeah. So even though they were towards the top of the tank under T5s, you don't necessarily want to immediately put it under your LEDs. I would still go to the full transition. Like at the very highest, I'd put the medium in your tank, and then kind of like move them up still. Yeah, I would never recommend bringing a coral in from any tank, regardless of how bright, and putting it under your bright lights. Like just like the transition from the travel alone could be stressing out the coral, and a coral that is receiving too much light is at far more risk than a coral that's not getting enough light. So again, not getting enough light, it's not perfect. It's probably not going to kill the coral for a month. Too much light, 72 hours will do it. I've heard rumors of harlequin shrimp eating mastic. Is this ever true? It would save me a lot of swimming and star hunting. I have never used mastic before. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a video out there that somebody can like whoever says that next time should just shoot a video and post it onto YouTube. It'll kind of clear things up right away. Reef dudes, if I bought a par meter and the par was similar, would you still acclimate them? Yes, I would. Because the way that a par meter works is that it's looking at a very specific spectrum. And oftentimes these par meters are kind of calibrated for sunlight because it's kind of anticipating you're going to be using it for like a horticultural purpose. Our tank spectrum is different from that. And so if the absorption of that particular sensor is kind of not well tuned to our home aquariums, there could be potentially a lot more light that it's just simply not seeing. So, and especially under like a lot of our tanks that are like heavier in actinic, there's just like this entire wavelength that that thing is not kicking out a number for. So it's entirely possible that the coral is receiving more light than what that sensor is showing you. And that difference between the two different fixtures could be very, very wonky. And these apogee par meters never have been good at evaluating LED to begin with. So if you're going from T5 to LED, those two numbers, even if they're the same number, that could be very, very, very different light. So play it safe. Go with less. I just got my dream fish, a majestic angel. Do you have any dream fish? All of my dream fish aren't exotics. They're all heavy, heavy workers. So I don't have a favorite coral, but I have 3 favorite fish: foxface, Melanaris wrasse, and a copper band butterfly, because those do the most work. And going back to the harlequin question of whether they ate mastic or not, you can just try it. I mean, if nothing else, something else is going to eat the mastic, right? It's a general food. KHG is an automatic alkalinity monitoring device. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, it'd be cool to be able to just to have a probe for alkalinity. Yeah, just make sure that, so this is Kyle Poma. Yeah, just make sure that like if you wanted to hide the container in the back, just be able to get in there and clean it occasionally. And clean it can be as simple as occasionally taking a turkey baster and agitating it just so it just doesn't become like, you know, a solid block of sulfur. Than, what's your opinion on Kent products? As I mentioned, I'm getting back into the hobby, and Kent products are all I've ever used. I think they're fine. I think there's a lot of similar brands, and Kent has been around for a long time. If by mistake salinity is low, what method can we use to make it higher? You can just add more salt mix. That's probably the easiest way. Or if you wanted to be a little bit more gentle about it, you could, in your next water change, put a slightly higher concentration in. Dave's Nano Tanks. Hey Reefers, hey Than. Hey, how's it going, Dave? A probe for alk would be so nice. You'd be able to look at your corals, look at the meter, and just know. Yeah, and I mean, and that's not to say that you wouldn't want to test it by a different method later, but at least this is like the quick and easy verification. Yeah, I mean, convenience goes a long way. To just having stuff be convenient, I mean, that is worth the price of admission alone. It might not be, let's assume for a moment, that it's not super accurate. Who knows? It might be more accurate than like a chemistry test. But even if it's not super accurate, you can kind of tell if the numbers are just different than what's happening normally. So if your alkalinity is reading like 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 5. Okay, even if it's malfunctioning and telling you it's 5, it at least brought your attention to it so you can verify and see if there's something wrong. So it just for that alone, it would probably be worth it. Have you talked to Miss Saltwater Tank lately? Not lately, I've not. Used Kent for 20 years and Sea Chem Fusion, Essential Elements, stay the hell away from my anemone systems. Yeah, I mean, we don't go out of our way to use a lot of different chemical additives. We've used, I've personally used a lot before and in the past. These days I stick a lot with just water changes, calcium reactor. And even the calcium reactor thing I'm doing rather poorly because we need to replace all of our, what do you call them, regulators? And I just have been dragging my feet on that for a long, long time. Yeah, isn't her channel deleted? Yes, Miss Saltwater Tank is no more. So she is doing something different with like more vlog related stuff and more like general animal stuff and no longer reef aquarium stuff. So if you're interested in just like Louise, you can find her. It's like Miss LKM, I believe. I'm guessing that's her initials. Yeah, you can find her channel there. But yeah, as far as like Miss Saltwater Tank, she's gonzo. This is Dalton. How do you feel about additives being added to your auto top-off unit in order to have additional effect over simply topping off water? So I don't know if you can do that with trace elements or not. I wonder if that possibly could mess with them. Kalkwasser I'm fine with. Like if we only dosed Kalkwasser for top-off, I'd be okay with it. And so like my full-time guy Ben, he's like, look, our calcium and alkalinity is already high. I'm like, I don't care. Like Kalkwasser is one of those things that's like an aspirin. It's like, I don't have a headache, but taking aspirin has these other side benefits to like, you know, it's like it helps with heart disease and like all other random things, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on with calc that is above and beyond just calcium and alkalinity maintenance. I mean, it helps precipitate phosphate. It helps protein skimming. I mean, there's I should probably do a video on Kalkwasser. Let me go ahead and make note of that. Yeah, I mean, so there's all these side benefits to it. And so talking about personal trainer's tank again, he came to me like a couple years ago. He's been doing this hobby for a long time with not great results. He got a lot of garbage advice over the course of like, I don't know, like 5-10 years, however long he was doing this hobby. And he got advice like, you know, basically add this chemical. Oh, I'm having this other issue, add this chemical. Forever, he's having garbage results. And I was the first person to tell him, no matter what, for the next forever, do a water change every week. And that was the first time anybody's just told him to do a lot of water changes. And that instantaneously changed his whole experience in this hobby. Like never before was he able to get corals to grow, and now they're covering everything. He's now fragging stuff and selling it because he has no space for it. And I went over to his place, and he had these Micromusa lord colonies that were shriveled and dying when I first saw them, and now they are 4 times bigger than anything that's growing in my system. And I was like, okay, it can't just be the water changes, because we do water changes. He's doing water changes, what's the difference? And I totally forgot that one of the things I suggested was for him to drip calc religiously. And that's all he does. Water changes and drip calc. That's it. And he was using our old lights, so it can't be that, oh, he's using different lights. He's using literally our old lights. He's using our same water. And yeah, it's just, he just religiously drips this stuff. I'm thinking we need to start religiously dripping kalkwasser. Long, roundabout answer, but we got it. We got it done. Okay. I'm changing from black box LEDs to Ocean Revive LEDs. I've heard they're very similar. Would you acclimate corals to a new fixture? Yes, I would acclimate corals to a new fixture. Is kalkwasser that much better than two-part? Kalkwasser is completely different than two-part. You can use two-part and kalkwasser together, but they're simply different. Dan is the classiest and most professional person I know. Thank you. I don't know if I would agree that I'm professional. That's funny. Let's see. Jeremy Spiteri. If I don't feed all the polyps in a colony, will they share nutrients? They will share nutrients. Slime anywhere is bad. I'm missing the context of that, but I'll probably agree. Slime is not a great thing. Bryopsis. Any advice for bryopsis? Yes, it's going to be some combination of physical removal and this is also kind of an old wives' tale sort of thing, but it's probably true. There's a magnesium additive called Kent Tech M, and it's not that, I don't think it's the magnesium itself, but it's some other impurity in Tech M that once you raise your magnesium to about 1500 with it, this impurity kills bryopsis. So you might want to look into that. Which shrimp do you recommend for a first timer? It depends. I mean, do you want your shrimp to actually do something? So if you wanted something to clean fish and stuff like that, like a regular skunk cleaner. If you want something to help with aptasia, you can go with a peppermint. If you want something that just looks attractive but doesn't really do either, you can try like a fire shrimp. Is that what they're called? Fire shrimp? It's like they've got like white spots and kind of like white legs. Need to dose much as my tank is still fairly new and my corals are small frags. That's what chemistry testing is for. So if you're testing your water and it's showing up low for stuff, then consider dosing. Now that goes against my just use calc thing, but again, it's like calc isn't necessarily only for calcium and alkalinity maintenance. Roscoe's Reef has got my greatest decision was switching to calc. I don't doubt it. Kalkwasser has been around for 50 years or something like that in this hobby. And it's one of those things, it's like, I don't know if there's anything that's better that has come along. It's like, again, that aspirin analogy. So there was this statistic that showed like, there's like these big budget hospitals versus like small little low budget inner city clinic type things. And if you go and have a heart attack, you are more likely to survive in the big budget suburban hospital versus like the inner city hospital, right? And the reason was 100% you're more likely to get given an aspirin tablet in the big budget hospital. That's it. So again, it's like aspirin, there's nothing better than it that's ever come along. And I kind of like think of calc in that same way. There's a lot of newer stuff, but just good old-fashioned kalkwasser does work. I've heard they changed the recipe on Tech M and it didn't work for me. That's entirely possible. Reformulations happen all the time. Like I said, it was probably an impurity to begin with. Had Bryopsis for 2 years, went with Fluco, tried MG, tried everything. Gone in 5 weeks with the flu. Hey, good. Yeah, like whatever works. Whatever works. Can't change reformulate, it doesn't work quite as well as before. Alright. Never mind. Never mind. You know what's weird? So usually things don't eat Bryopsis. My fox faces do. So if I have a tank that has a little bit of Bryopsis in it, and it's usually like a 30-gallon tank that doesn't have any fish in it, so nothing controls it, I can just take that piece, put it in with my fox faces, and they do clean it up like that same day. Pink bird's nest is dying back. Possible it could be too much par. It is very possible that it's too much. It could be other things, but bird's nests don't need a ton of light. Now pink bird's nests, they can get better color under brighter light, but not to the point that it's going to be just oversaturated. Excuse me. Van, you have a greenhouse, but do you have a garden? Ever had a garden? It's one of those things I have to pick my battles. Like, I can't do yard work. So, my landscaping here at my house looks like what you would expect at a foreclosure. It's the worst imaginable landscaping here. It's just, I can't do it. Can't do that. Can't do the garden. All I can do at best is mow the lawn and edge the driveway. After that, it's like I'm gonna have to pay somebody to do my landscaping. So any landscapers out there want coral frags in exchange for landscaping services, hit me up. That can be a thing. And just for the labor part, it's like not even like, oh, you need to provide me trees and everything. Look, I'll pay for the plants. We'll just do a trade straight for the actual labor and maintenance and everything like that. We can do this. It's I gotta pick my battles. All the gardening and stuff, I can't do it. What do you keep your tank temps at? I would shoot for 77. I like 77. Gorgonians do not have zooxanthellae. They're purely carnivorous, so I thought. No. There's plenty of Gorgonians that have zooxanthellae. Better phone. Yeah. Here's the other really great thing about Kalkwasser. It's cheap. What's cheaper than Kalkwasser? Again, aspirin. What's cheaper than aspirin? It's cheap. Is a pH of 8.5 too high? No. I think 8.3 is pretty typical in the ocean. Loading up the gardening equipment. So again, it's the yard. It's under control. 90 minutes and me on the zero turn. We're good on the yard. I don't care about that. And that's a perfectly okay way for me to spend 90 minutes to zone out, listen to a book on tape or whatever, and just ride. That doesn't bother me. But when it comes to like doing detail stuff like digging and weeding and all that, and remulching and putting down what is that, like the preen and all that stuff, and like all of that would probably take me like a couple hours, a month. I won't do it. Nope, I'm punting. It's like, pick your battles. Just pick your battles. I'm punting on anything landscaping related. Like, yes, there's some value to it. No, I'm not going to spend any money or attention on it. Sorry, I can't do it. And you know the thing is, I can even probably provide you all the tools. I have a lot of yard maintenance tools. Like I said, I've got John Deere and Steel equipment, lots of it. So it's not even that, oh, I don't have like the right tools for it. No, I have no motivation. Yeah, yard is so big. Yeah, but the amount that I actually have to mow is probably 2 acres. It's fast. What Kalkwasser brand would you recommend? Dude, it's pretty similar. Like all that's it's just calcium hydroxide. You can't go wrong with calcium hydroxide. I'm sure I bet everybody's getting their calcium hydroxide from the same source and just rebranding it. There's no secret sauce to Kalkwasser. It is some basic shiz. As long as I keep up with my daily, this is Daniel Adams. As long as I keep up with my daily dosage, is 2-part dosing a stable way to dose? Yeah, 2-part is great. A lot of people have had great success with something like the BRS stuff, with the ESV stuff, forever. I mean, it's been great. But just talking about calc, it's just different. I mean, I've known plenty of people that had very, very stony coral heavy tanks that have used a calcium reactor, 2-part, and calc to keep up with the calcium and alkalinity demands of their stony corals. So it just depends on what you need, but you can do a mix of these things as well. And any and all of it will work. Just make sure you're testing. The boy won't have to move down to Ohio. Yeah, I'm telling you what, like, if you guys have useful services, we can trade for coral if you're local. Alkalinity dropped, pH is 8.4. How do I quickly raise my alk safely? And sitting at 5. So Chris, first of all, if your corals are doing fine, don't be in a huge hurry to go chase a specific number. We've had 5 DKH before. Our stuff was fine. If you wanted to specifically raise that, you can just use, how we're talking about 2-part. You use the 1-part, that's the alkalinity portion, very slowly to raise it up. That plus water changes will do work. Something aptasia, I just use a combination of copper band butterflies and peppermint shrimp. I don't like to do the injection stuff simply because if you don't actually kill every molecule of that aptasia, you end up with a million more aptasia. But it does kill the animal. It just, like I said, you need to 100% kill it. And it's also like a practicality thing. We have 5,000 gallons worth of aquariums. We're going to get every single one of them injected? No, it's not going to happen. So we go with the biological method. Can use Mrs. Wages. Yeah, Mrs. Wages is pickling lime, which is calcium hydroxide. The knock on it is that it's not quite as pure, even though it is technically food grade. I guess you can save money using Mrs. Wages pickling lime. You're not saving that much. I don't know. I've used it before. I'm not going to knock it. I've used it before. It's just that like we can order in, well, we order in bulk, so it's cheaper there too. But it's like there's nothing cheaper than Kalkwasser. I mean, I guess like if you're looking for savings, I might look elsewhere, especially for something that's kind of as caustic as in like very, very high in pH, very chemically active, that's going to be doing a lot of stuff chemically in your tank. You might want to go with an actual aquarium brand, but that's just me. You're not going to save that much money going with pickling lime. Is it Jeremy or Jerome? I'm sorry if I called you Jeremy and your Jerome. I was wondering when you use Zeovit or something else that makes your coral pastel colored, are they stressed as hell or are they on the edge of death? They are stressed as hell. The idea is that you're trying to get them to expel enough zooxanthellae that they're taking on a particular appearance that you think looks attractive. It's not necessarily like the best health for the animal. It's purely you're trying to game their biology for an aesthetic goal. Some people still like it, and still do it. That's great, but personally, in my systems, I don't have that leeway because it can go from pretty pastel colored to super dead very fast. Like I don't have that buffer to work with. In a home aquarium where you have a lot more control, it can be more of a thing, but yeah, it's not for me. The impurities precipitate out of the pH of 12 plus anyway. Yeah, it might. I don't even know if there are impurities. It's a slightly different color. It's a little bit more clay colored than white, which I don't know if that's a meaningful observation, but it's something. Nobody special. Hi fam. I have softies and LPS that do great for many years, but SPS I put in dies. It's probably too little light, right? It could be for a lot of reasons. Chances are I would worry first about something chemical. Secondly, I would worry about flow. And third, I would consider light. But yeah, like success in softies and LPS doesn't really translate to SPS, unfortunately. Will Gould, Dan, you missed my question about a new tank. Yes, I did. Go ahead and post it again. Engineering Aquariums, can you give a shout out to my channel? Just uploaded a vid. Engineering Aquariums, okay. Engineering Aquariums gets his 2 minutes of fame here. I'm gonna quickly do a YouTube search here. So, as I mentioned, for all you aspiring YouTube artists out there, you don't need to try to ask me to give you shout outs for your channel. I told you how to do it. Post every day. Post garbage every day with clickbait. Oh, kitty. And if you can add cats to your channel, I'm sure that'll help. What, are you hungry again? You eat too much. My cat is 15 pounds. Her favorite thing in the world to do is eat. Okay, so Engineering Aquariums has 68 subs. So if you like what you guys see, you can hook him up with a subscription. And those of you that are subscribed to me, hit the damn bell. Because Lord knows you're probably not getting actual notifications. All right. So hopefully whoever said I missed their thing, hopefully I didn't miss their question again. Let's see, Entities Aquarium, do you still have bounce mushrooms? Yes, I do. I'm getting a couple more too, or I'm getting one more. How many bulbs should I have for Acropora with T5 high output? You can go with a lot, potentially. Depends on the size of your tank. I think 6 is a good number. That's just me. Okay, give me 1 second. One of my vacuum cleaners just turned on that I'm going to turn off, and I'm going to get some more water, so I'll be right back. Okay. I am back. Post good stuff weekly. No, daily. Weekly. Weekly was so 2015. No, YouTube demands a blood sacrifice of daily clickbait videos now. And oh, that's another thing. You can't be controversial. So, no swearing, no political, nothing. Tell him to dab, everyone. Dude, I'm old. We don't dab. Will Gould, okay. New tank. Nitrogen cycle complete. Turned lights on and getting diatom growth. I think it's supposed to cycle and go. Should I wait for that cycle to begin adding corals? Not necessarily. Like, so diatom growth on a new tank, 110% normal. After that, so the diatom bloom will come, and literally overnight it'll vanish. And then you'll kind of have like a light dusting of it every 48 hours or so. That's completely normal. And it's not really has anything to do with whether you can add coral or not. Like the longer you can wait to add coral and just to kind of have everything kind of settle down and be more stable, it'll be better. But it's not related to diatoms. Diatoms is just a new tank thing. Is that really water fan? Yup, unfortunately. Yeah, Reef Dudes, it's a hard knock life being a YouTuber. Yeah, now it is. It used to be fine. So whatever YouTubers you like, that you really like, support the heck out of them because it is not that easy anymore. Not just saying for myself, like any of these other guys that are in chat that you like their channels, give them some love because again, not that easy. Blood sacrifice searchable titles, no cursing. Yeah, you have to be like very corporate friendly. Monnier, McNamee, do you still make your own food for your tanks? Yes. Do you ever change up the ingredients? No, not, well, kinda, sometimes. But it's not the ingredients themselves, it's more just like the percentage breakdown of it. But it's really the same sort of thing. It's going to be some different flavors of krill, depending on sizing. It's going to be mysis shrimp. It's going to be rotifers. And then we feed algae separately. What do you think of Frank on King of DIY? Who's Frank? I thought the guy's name was something else. Who's I've only met him once. What's his name? I'm gonna look it up real quick. I didn't think it was Frank though. Help me out here. Who's Frank? Is that somebody else that's also on the channel? Okay. What T5 bulbs do you use, Than? I use a combination of Coral Plus and Blue Plus. A lot of it just for aesthetics. Are you just doing Chato? Okay, what would you say is the best fish? Oh, my mom just walked in. Let's see. What would you say is the best fish for overall pest control if you had to choose just one? It's easily a Melanera's wrasse. Okay, I just got the it's lunchtime sign, so we have to wrap this up. Okay, Joey, yeah. I always thought it was Joey. Frank is a fish. Oh, okay. See, a little out of the loop. It's like, who's Frank? Frank is a flower horn. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for bringing me into the loop. It's like, he was like, I met this guy. I didn't think his name was Frank, though. And this was like in Colorado, like at Macna, like a long time ago. I talked to him for like a minute. So I don't know. Maybe I'll run into him coming up in New Orleans. I don't know if he's gonna be there or not, but if he is, I'll stop over and say hi. I'm sure. Okay, lunchtime, Lebanese cuisine. Okay, what's the difference between Melanaris and 6-line? Okay, last question. A 6-line, pretty good wrasse for that sort of thing. A Melanaris, though, is a much larger wrasse, and they kind of look similar, but it's just a much bigger wrasse. They're next level when it comes to pest control. So if you're going to choose any, get that Melanaris. Okay, so I gotta go, guys. Thanks so much for joining. I will talk to you guys later. Again, probably the next hangout is going to be probably hopefully on Friday, and then after that it's going to be the live show weekend. All right, talk to you later.